wants to nerd out with me. Hey guys, my name is Lindsay and I am with Perfectly Pastry. Who's Perfectly Pastry? We're a local bakery in Waterloo, Illinois. How are you doing today? If you're watching me live, use a heart. Let me know you're watching me live. If you're watching me on replay, use hashtag replay. And if it's the first time you caught me live, use a number 1. Let me know. Hey girl, it's the first time I've caught you live. Thank you so much for hopping on today. I'm so afraid that people are going to see my description title and be like, yeah, no thanks, no thanks. But I think that I deserve to be able to nerd out about business at least once a month. I mean, come on. Like, I'm usually really good and I rein in my nerdy business talk as much as I can, but I should at least get one week. Like 1 week a month, right? I mean, you can enjoy that 1 week a month, right? So did you guys watch our reel on Instagram? I know I'm on Facebook right now, but if you are not on Instagram following us, you should follow us on Instagram as well. We are at Perfectly Pastry. Facebook is the only one that we are at Perfectly Pastry Bakery. Oh my gosh. So my sister and I had recorded a ton of, well, I can't say a ton. We tried to record a ton of reels this summer. We have a lot more fails and bloopers than we do actual reels that we can use, but whatever. So I posted one of them and I forgot how funny that one is. And if you watch it, my sister kind of messes up in the beginning and she like mouths what I'm supposed to say. So side note, I am terrible at reels. I am terrible at mouthing the words I am supposed to say and be like on cue. Like, I am terrible at it. That is why my sister does the reels 99% of the time. She did teach me a really great hack. If I wear my headphones, that's why most of reels you'll see from this summer, I have headphones in. Because otherwise, like, I cannot for the life of me stay on task when it comes to like trying to record reels and say what I'm supposed to say, when I'm supposed to say it, the way I'm supposed to say it. Like, I add words and take out words and my sister's like, how hard is it? There are like 3 words in that sentence. Why can you not say it A, at the right time, and B, like in the correct order? Like, what are you doing? It was a little bit of a hot mess, but the reel turned out really cute and I just keep replaying it laughing. I probably keep replaying it laughing because I can see all the bloopers that are in my drafts that are around that one. And like, this one was the best, like the least bloopers in it. And so I just keep laughing. Like, the one blooper, so I'm eating a piece of cheesecake, which I don't mind, but I'm eating a piece of cheesecake and I take a bite of it and I mouth what I'm supposed to mouth, and then the words go. And then I was like, oh, whoopsie, I was ahead of time. But yeah, I laughed. So if you haven't checked it out, I want to recommend you guys go to checking out the reels because it was a lot of fun to make them. I'm going to be trying to get some descriptions written. The reels, like my sisters are like, reels are so hard, and they are hard. They're time consuming. And when I'm involved, you got to do them over and over again. Like, don't get me wrong. But it's really hard to come up with descriptions for that. I'm just like, I'm so tired of coming up with descriptions. So I kind of took a hiatus from reels, but I'm back at it. I'm going to work on descriptions for you guys. I just want everybody to know that we have another Explore Waterloo event on September 10th. I am wearing my shirt. You can't really see it, but I'm wearing my Explore Waterloo shirt. Actually, I really like my Explore Waterloo shirt, so I wear it a lot, but I am wearing it for my live today. And so we do have our next Explore Waterloo on September 10th. I hope everybody enjoyed all the free water that we had for the I almost said for the fair, but it wasn't for the fair. It was for the parade. So this year, actually, we did it last year. We did it again this year. We set out water outside our shop. So in the future, if you're like, ooh, cool, I want to watch the parade, I'm going to get a spot in front of Perfectly Pastry, 201 North Main Street. Here. Don't even worry. Like, I got you. See, there you go. Now the address is there for you. And now you know where to go get a spot for the parade next year so that you can grab yourself free water. So you guys really enjoyed the free water. I'm so glad that you guys were able to get that and cool off while you waited for some parade and candy and music and everything else that goes with parades. It was so funny. We thought about doing one of the parades in June. And like, I found out when you do a parade, you have to have somebody stand at each wheel. And my sister's like, well, we don't have enough people. How are we going to do that? I may have told the story. And I'm like, what do you mean, how are you going to do it? I'm like, have the kids do it. And she's like, Lindsay, you have my kids. I don't have enough kids to do it. And I was like, Oh, my bad. But one of these days, we're really hoping to be able to do one of the parades. I've never been in a parade. I really want to be in a parade. I don't know that we could do the whole float thing because, like, I don't know that I have enough creative energy to give to creating a float. But at least I can put something on, slap something on my mom's car. My mom has the smallest car out of all of us. She has this like little tiny car. I'll slap some signs on that car and we'll just like throw out candy. I'm like adamant. I want to be in a parade sometime. So look out in the future. I'm putting that out there into the world. We will. What's the likelihood that we will be in a parade? That is like the thing I say in our business. And every time I say that, like I manifest the thing I'm talking about. So here we go. I'm manifesting it, right? Like what's the likelihood of that happening? It's actually really high because I'm like adamant about making that happen. So I want to let you guys know that we are going to have cinnamon raisin scones in the shop this week. So if you're like, oh, I'm so excited. I love scones. By the way, I absolutely love scones. If you've never had a scone, let me describe a scone for you. So a scone is like a biscuit, and the ones that have fruit, it's almost like having jelly in your biscuit, right? Because there's the sweetness from the fruit in there, but there's no mess. And I love it. My absolute favorite scone in the world, hands down, is chocolate chip. It is really delicious, and I like it because it's not overly sweet, so it almost tastes like a chocolate chip cookie without all the sweetness. By far, one of my faves. But we all know that the French silk pie cheesecake is my absolute favorite thing I've ever put in my mouth. Like I have said it over and over again, and I will say it over and over again. So yeah, there's that. Okay, now I get to nerd out. I did what I was supposed to do. I got through the things I was supposed to get through, and now I get to talk about the things that I want to do. And this week, we are going to talk about books. Woohoo, right? Like I know every couple of months I do this thing about books, right? So I thought I would go over some of the books that I have read over the last couple of months. And as I wrote the word books, I realized some people are like books with an S, as in you've read multiple books over the summer. Like who does that? I will say Audible helps me out with that. It's not like I like read them. I do listen to them. Actually, I do both. I listen to a book, and because I can't always listen to the book, I read. So like at night, I like to read. So I have a book that I read, and then I have a book that I listen to on Audible. And I actually have 2 books I'm listening to on Audible and a book I'm reading. And people are like, how do you manage that? Some of them are business books. Business books are totally easy to interchange with each other. Like, it's not like you're going to get the characters messed up. Like, it's pretty straightforward stuff. So I'm listening to a business book. I am reading a business book, and then I'm listening to a book for enjoyment as well. Obviously, listening to a book for business and listening to a book for enjoyment compete with each other. So that one is true, but it's not like I'm going to be listening to that book forever, right? Okay. So I thought I would go through some of the books that I've read over the summer, or that I'm kind of reading right now, because one of them I'm not all the way done with on my business books. So the first business book I read was called The First Minute. There is more to it, but I didn't write the rest of it down. It's like The First Minute, How to Start a Conversation, blah, 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 blah. It's by Chris Fenning. The book was actually, I'm like, the book was actually really good, and had some really good points to it. I thought it was a little redundant. Like, I'm one of those, like, once you tell me the information, cool, thanks. I don't need to be, like, retold a million times. And the book was a lot of redundancy, which is fine. But I learned some really great things about communication that I'm actually taking forward with me. So I do a lot of interviews for my other job. Like, I interview people and hire people a lot. And one of the questions that I always ask in an interview is, what is one thing you've learned, and like, how are you taking that forward in all your careers? Like that one thing, right? And so I'm going to tell you about this book. Okay, so I learned two really, really good things that I'm going to carry on in all of my communications going forward. Okay. The first one is, you are only as smart as you can articulate. Right? If you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you cannot articulate your thoughts, people perceive you as not being smart. So perception, we all know, is a really big thing. First impressions are a really big thing. And the way that you communicate actually provides an impression, and people can point blank think that you're an idiot just by the way that you articulate yourself, right? So that was a big one for me. I don't know that I fall in that category, but I know some really smart people who really struggle to communicate sometimes. And I think that people disregard what they have to say a lot because of that. And so I found that very interesting that it was in the book. Like I was like, oh, that's really interesting. The other thing about the book that I have really clung on to is this whole concept of getting out in the first minute what it is that you want the person reading to get from that, right? And that communication works great in business, but it actually works great outside of business. Like I have a niece, she's in high school and she's having to write papers and I'm helping her like learn how to structure it, right? And one of the things I keep trying to reiterate is in your paragraph, choose one topic to talk about and then discuss that topic. Don't bop around topics like you keep bopping around topics. I need you to organize your thoughts. And this paragraph is about this. This is about this. And it's the same thing when I am talking in business. I work really, really hard when I'm communicating with my team to not include too many topics in one email. If I think there's too many topics in one email, I stop and I create a different email. But the biggest thing that I have really taken from that is in that first minute, you need to list what that person needs to, why it's important and what that person needs to deem from the information below. And at first I was like, we all do that. Like, what does that mean? Like, right. But as I've started getting more and more emails that aren't structured like that, I realized that some of the people that I communicate with the most that I struggle with understanding what action they want me to take is because they're not clear in what action I'm supposed to be taking. So now I have really thought about that. And I'm like, before they read what is in this email, I need to ask them to do something with that. Like, this is what I want you to do with that information. Hey, this is just an FYI. I thought you'd be interested in knowing the situation. Can you help me figure out how to make this person happy? Here's the situation. Like I had somebody message me the other day and she's like, this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. Can you talk to the vendor? Okay, cool. But what is it you want me to actually solve? Like things happen, but you didn't ask me to like take action. I don't know what action to ask for. Like what resolution are you looking for? So like I just took this information. I was like, if I give this over to my vendor, they're going to ask me what they're supposed to do with this information. It's like, cool, great, we'll talk to them. If I need another action, like I need to let them know that. So I had to go back and be like, great, thank you for all that detail. What resolution is she looking for? Like what goal am I working towards, right? And so I really realized that when I'm communicating, I need to start with, here's the goal, here's the detail. We all give the detail and then sometimes add in the goal. But the problem with that is you're talking and you forget like what the goal is. You lose sight, like you get sidetracked, you might go out. Like if you ever talk with me, like I may go off on some random tangent and then be like, well, fiddly, what was I going to talk about? As a matter of fact, I know I've done that on lives. So it's really important that you like very clearly articulate first what's happening and what to do with that information. And that allows the reader to know their end goal in mind as they're absorbing the data. And that to me has been huge, like huge. I can't even express to you enough, like how big that has been for me. And to realize when I'm struggling with somebody and communicating and like we're doing all this back and forth, it makes me realize, oh, it's because I don't know the end goal. Why don't I just ask what the end goal is? If I start with the end goal in mind, then I know what I'm doing, right? It's all about starting with the end goal and then forming your communication around that. So I did. I loved it. A little redundant just because I was like, let's get through this, but it was good. It's a quick read. It's not that long. The second business book that I read, I think I organized these business wise, maybe in order that I read them, not quite in order. So the second business book, I'm currently actually reading it. It's The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz. You guys know I've talked about Mike Michalowicz. I talked about him like with Get Different. I talked about him with I love Get Different, Profit First, Clockwork Your Business. I read a lot of Mike Michalowicz. He makes me laugh. I find him funny. So I don't mind reading his books, but I'm one of those people, like I cannot read the same author over and over again in a row. Like I have to space it out. Otherwise I start tuning them out. Whatever, it's how I work. And so I got Get Different and The Pumpkin Plan simultaneously, read Get Different. Actually, I listened to it and then started The Pumpkin Plan and had to put it down because I couldn't listen to that same author in a row, even though I love Mike Michalowicz. I think he's hilarious. So I picked it back up over the summer and I'm almost done with it. I'm not like completely done with it, but I really like Pumpkin Plan. It is about learning to play. We use these kind of terms in our businesses, but it's like play where you know you can win, mining your diamonds, things like that, where you really niche and narrow down and focus and serve a specific niche, and how to do that in your industry, and how to cut customers who may be dragging down your energy and your business, and refocusing that to those that you want to grow, so that you can have an idea of how to best serve your customer, and then that will trickle down. So that's what the book is all about. The other book that I read, and this one's not a business book, it's like a self-help type book. You guys know I watch TikTok and I watch Reels, and like over and over again, I've seen like love languages, like my husband's love language is this, my love language is that, and we had to learn to communicate together and all of these things. And I was like really interested. And so technically that was going to be what I worked on next year. Like this year I was going to work on business. Next year I was going to work on me and the way that I communicate with my family and my friends and things like that. Personal relationships versus business relationships. But obviously I drove back from Illinois to Florida. I had quite a few hours of time on my hand. And so I read a bunch of books, one of them being the 5 love languages. And honestly, I loved it. I did not love the book. I did not like the book. The author and I do not jive, but I love the concepts of the book. And so therefore I read the book and enjoyed. You guys know I'm a nerd. I nerd out on these kind of things, and I love the psychology and the thought behind it. And so I started applying it in my family. And in my relationships. Not only did I like start applying it, like I was doing it before, but in a very cheesy way. Like I was like, oh, husband, I got to figure out what your love language is. So I would like give him a positive affirmation while touching his face. And he'd be like, stop being a weirdo. Like he knew what I was doing, right? Like I did weird things like that. But now I'm like actively trying to figure out what everyone's love language is. And trying to figure out like how they function and why maybe they're upset or why they're not feeling like happy or loved, or like just trying to notice those things. Like that's what I've been doing. My daughter and I have been talking a lot about the fact that like I view the world as an experiment. Like everything I do, I look at it as an experiment. So love languages and finding out what makes my family tick and what makes them feel loved by me has been my new like science experiment. And so I've realized that my one daughter, attention is what she needs, my undivided attention. She doesn't need a lot of it. So I've been making time to give her my complete undivided attention for at least 10 minutes a day, where I put my phone down and listen to whatever it is that she wants to say. And honestly, like a lot of what she has to say, I'm not interested in, but I listen to it and I engage in it because that's what she wants from me. And that's how she feels love. And I want her to know that I love her. Right. I realized one of my daughters really loves positive affirmations. And so we've been using that. She's so funny because it's my youngest and we're not really sure if positive affirmation is that or if it's her age, but we've been going with it. And so she'll be like, I think my love cup is empty, Mom. That's her way of asking for us to like, I don't know, love her or give her positive affirmation. She'd be like, I think my love cup is getting empty. Can you fill it up? It's so funny. We call it our love cup at home. My middle daughter thinks that it's hugs. And so like I hug her all the time, right? But now I go the extra mile and I'll be like this, I'll give her a hug and then I'll be like, this one's for your love cup, right? Like this one's just because I love you. And this one is because I want you to know that I'm actively trying to make sure that you feel loved. Like we've talked about it, like so that everybody knows the cues. I'm pretty positive my husband's is undivided attention too. Not really surprised by that, but he likes me to do things together, but it's never, guys, my family likes to do things together with me, but it's never anything I want to do. And I'm just like, oh, my husband likes to watch previews and videos, like really previews of like movies and stuff like that. And if you know me, like I'm not a huge movie watcher. And so it's like agony when he's like, watch this one. I wanted to show you this real quick. And like, I used to push against it, but because I know that that makes him feel connected to me, like that's his way of letting me into his world. I have been taking time, putting my phone down and giving him my undivided attention. Because a lot of times, like I don't watch TV. So I like work while I'm watching TV and he hates that. So I've been trying to be mindful of that. So I really enjoyed that book. Man, I got to go faster because I've been like blabbing and I still have 3 books to go through. Okay. I'm currently reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm like 1 chapter in, so I don't have any ideas yet on what I think about that. So I'll have to keep you guys updated on that. And I went to a book club. I'm so excited. I have been wanting to join a book club forever. I went to my first book club meeting last week. I had a lot of fun and I am so excited to be part of book club. But book club is not a business book club. I really wanted to be in a business book club, but let's be real. I need to just be in a book club, right? And so I joined my first book club and I had a lot of fun. And the first book we read, this is the first book I have read for enjoyment in a really long time. It was called Winter in Paradise by Elin, Hilderbrand. It was okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. It's just a book. I enjoyed it in the moment and then didn't really think anything else about it. I've read another one of her books. I don't think she's the strongest author, but I don't hate her, right? Like I'll read her. It's no big deal. And then we're currently reading Where the Crawdads Sing. And I know that there's a book out or a movie out, which is what triggered us to read it. And it's so funny because like, I was like, oh, I don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. I have this thing, like if there's a movie coming out, like for whatever reason, I immediately am like, oh, it's a horrible book. I don't want to read it. I don't know why I think that. I have enjoyed lots of books and they are movies now. Like I loved My Sister's Keeper and I never watched the movie. I loved Hunger Games and then I watched the movie. I enjoyed Twilight and I was not a teenager and I watched the movies. Divergent, I read it because the movies were coming out. The movies were junk. The books were amazing. I read Ready Player One before it became a movie. I read it because they were coming out with a movie. I heard about it and read it. And I liked all these books. So, one of my favorite ones is Me Before You. Oh my gosh, like hard sobbing cry. I hate books that make me sad and cry. Like I don't want to read and be sad. Like it's not my thing. Oh my gosh, I love Me Before You. And then they made it a movie and I cried in the movie. I cried in the book. Like I woke my husband up at 3 a.m. hysterically bawling to this book. And my husband jumps out of bed. He's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? And I'm like, oh my book, it's just so sad. He was like, seriously? He still teases me to this day. And then I watched it twice and cried both times that I watched it. Now I was pregnant, so that was probably part of it. But yeah, I watched it. Gone with the Wind. Like I never watched the movie and I read the book just recently. Like, okay, not recently, in 2016. That's recent enough for me. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I read it. I cried in the book like hysterically, but I think that it was because I was pregnant. So why I think just because there's a movie coming out that the book is going to be crap. Game of Thrones. I loved the book. I loved the series. I hated the ending, whatever. That's neither here nor there. You can debate me all you want on that, but the ending sucked. The books were great. And it was really weird that they went off of the books, but whatever. But I only read them because the series was coming out. But like, I drag my feet. I'm like, it's going to be terrible. I'm going to hate it. I don't want to read the books. And I'm like, I should think if they're making a movie from the book is probably good, right? Why I have such a backward mindset about that is beyond my understanding. Like, I don't know why I kick and scream when I'm like, oh, they have a movie. It's a terrible book. I know. I got to get over that. But so far, Where the Crawdads Sing is not a terrible book. I haven't decided what I think about it because, like, it takes a while to, like, really get to know much. So I don't hate it. I mean, I'm obviously listening to it and I can't wait to go back to book club because I'm a nerd and I joined a book club and I'm so excited, but I will have to give you guys some updates on that. Okay. Whew, look at me. I went through the last bit of books really, really quickly. Honestly, I could talk for hours about books, but I think 22 minutes and 54 seconds is probably way too much for you guys, right? Okay. All right. I will give you the rest of your day back. Fine. Be that way. All right, you guys, I'm going to hop off of here. I will see you again back here next week. If you're watching this live on Facebook, you should be liking and following us on Facebook. If Facebook's not your jam, then you should be following us on other social media. Facebook is the only one that we are at Perfectly Pastry Bakery. Oh, look at this. I made a little thing for that. And then all our other social media, we are at Perfectly Pastry. All right, you guys, I'm going to hop off of here and you enjoy the rest of your week. You have a great weekend.